Welcome, everybody. How is everyone doing today? I know we often do muted presentations, but this is going to be a form of a workshop, and so I'd like to meet everybody's needs as they come up. So feel free to interrupt me today. I think we can let you all unmute yourself if you want to ask a question along the way. If there's some trouble with that, feel free to raise your hand. I'll try to take a look to see that there's a hand raised. The goals that I have for today, like Sophia said, was to help everybody understand a little bit more about the St. Thomas Graphics collection itself, where it came from. We've heard some of that, but also to help you understand how it's organized in the library, both here physically at the library and online with the site that we've been building specifically for researching online with the scanned images of some of the collection. And then I hope to finish up by doing some research. You find something you want to look at, we can take a look through the inventory and give a shot of pulling it out of the collection and taking a look at it and tell you about some further steps. So those are my goals: to understand the collection a little bit more, to understand how it's organized, and how to conduct research with it. Is anybody want something else out of today's workshop? Is this not what you expected, or is there something more you think we might be able to add on? Let me know. Now's a good time. And again, feel free to unmute yourself unless you've got some background noise that would interrupt with the presentation. Okay. Well then, hearing nothing, I guess that's on target with what you expected. I first want to start off by, again, noting that we have had two prior presentations. If you haven't seen them already, they're on YouTube. I'm going to share my screen here real quick so you can see that. If you haven't been to our YouTube site, you got to go check it out. All right, so there's my background, and here is the YouTube site for CGL. And what you're going to see here is a couple of the interviews from Susan Lugo's presentation about St. Thomas Graphics collection. And this is Susan Lugo's presentation here. So go check that out if you want to learn about the history of St. Thomas Graphics collection, where it was located, how it came to be about, some stories about the owners, all sorts of stuff. It's a great introduction to the collection. Subsequent to that, we had some researchers present on their use of the collection for their research, which is a perfect example of what we think someone would use the collection for, is for inspiring more work, more family history, more cultural history. So, and there's a lot more there too. If you haven't seen CGL's YouTube channel, all of our prior presentations for like maybe the last 5 years are up there. So with that, the other thing that we touched on in those presentations was when St. Thomas Graphics closed, came to CGL, it arrived in boxes, just pulled right out of the office of the business, and they were put in these boxes. And you know, there's really not an organization system within those boxes. There were some types of categories of things, and that's what we're going to talk about a little later. But just be aware that it wasn't like things came to us in an organized fashion. To some degree, the materials arrived in the library because the business was closing and they had to be put in boxes, and that's just how they came to us. But in about 2008, we had a PhD student, Cynthia Peterson, who worked on the collection in doing the first high-level inventory. And I want you to see some of what her work accomplished. So I'm going to share my screen again here. So you can see what her inventories look like. There you go. She worked on these Excel schedules, and customer name was one of the columns of information she collected on each item in the collection, the number of those items in the collection, the number of copies we retained, because we have pulled out duplicates. So in cases where there might have been 6 of an item, we might have taken 4 out and kept 2. She also gave some descriptions of the media format, the date, what it's on, whether paper, glossy paper, a short description, typically taken off the front cover, dimensions. So she took a lot of data, and let me show you here. This goes on and on and on. All the materials that she documented. Oops, went too far there. There we go. She spent a whole summer. I think she was on St. Thomas for 3 months, creating that database. Not necessarily the database, an Excel file, but an inventory of part of the collection. And you need to understand that it was that work that has brought us to the organization of the collection today. Each of the boxes behind me are organized the way they are because Cynthia put that data into an Excel spreadsheet that we used to reference everything in the box. So let me show you that Excel sheet in a slightly different way. I'm going to share my screen again. Now this should look familiar. Here's Cynthia's data over here. And over here is a little bit more organized way of showing Cynthia's data. But now it's got an item number attached to it. Everything Cynthia recorded has been kind of merged together in a description. And then it's been assigned a box number. So these are sequential box numbers. And PM stands for printed material. Printed material, PM. So all the material that was in the collection, in the printed material, was scanned. We tried to fit as much of it as possible into each of the shelf boxes behind me. And here's an example of an empty shelf box. So only so much material fit into each box. When that box got filled up, we just went on to the next number of the printed material order number. And so we kept doing that until we got to the end of all the material. And that's what you see behind me. So it's, again, because of what Cynthia did to enter all the data for all of the material, that we then built upon that. So you need to know that things weren't necessarily going to be in an organized way that you might expect by, say, if it was on a library's bookshelf, it was by subject matter would all be together, or all of the same author might all be together. Things are not necessarily going to be in order on the shelf. You're not going to find all of the historical theater booklets all next to each other. You're not going to find all of the St. Thomas Chamber of Commerce materials all next to each other. They might be separated because that's the way they came in the boxes originally given to us. And that's therefore the order that we scanned them in. And that way they matched up to Cynthia's index. So let me step back a little bit. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures. It might give you a visual representation of how that got put together. Share a screen one more time. So here's an example of the printed version of Cynthia's inventories. This is for a flat file. This is what, let me go back a couple. This is what the boxes used to look like just after the hurricane. We had them all boxed up on the shelf, still in the boxes and accessible. We had pulled the rug You can see down here, we'd cut the rug out, but later we pulled all these shelves out, pulled out the rug, and we had acquired some new shelving. We tore down this wall after the hurricane, moved these library books to a different location. And this is our new shelving that we acquired after the hurricane. All the rugs gone, the wall is gone, but they're still in the boxes. So they stayed in there, you know, again, looking towards a project to get them out of the boxes and accessible to users, to patrons, until we got the grant last year, the CFBI grant, funded by the National Endowment of the Humanities and the CARES Act. And we wrote the grant for the project to digitize St. Thomas Graphics collection. And here is Annika Hanfeld, who we contracted to do a bunch of scanning. She's a college student and was home last fall while her school was out. She spent many hours. You can see the booklets here being lined up and scanned. And then she had to crop the images after they were scanned. And she did some organizing in Excel. And then the shelf boxes arrived. To order the shelf boxes with money from the grant. There they are. And you can see we started to put them in the shelf. We taped up numbers originally to identify the different boxes. And there they are going on the shelf. Originally, we didn't have the boxes. We just separated the batches with these yellow cards. And when the boxes arrived, we were able to put the materials, take out the yellow cards, put the materials into their boxes. And then finally they get labeled with the typed and laser printed labels. Again, I want to focus on these labels here. Again, notice that they're just going sequentially through the order of Cynthia's Excel inventories. So this would mean this was a one box, it was box 3, and it ended up fitting in 2 of the shelving boxes on the shelf. And this was box 4, but it took 2 shelving boxes to get it onto the shelf. Your box 2 ended up just being 1 shelving box. Box 5 was just 1 shelving box. Box 6 was 1 shelving box. So that's, again, a little bit of a background of how we got to the organization system that we have. Cynthia did a great job of doing the high level inventory, and that's how they're organized on the shelf. So any questions up to this point?
Yes,
Henry.
So in other words, all the same category of booklets are not inventoried together, or they're not stored together.
That's correct. Yeah.
Like funeral booklets or Chamber of Commerce booklets or etc.
So
they're not even chronological?
They're not chronological? No.
And what do you mean by digitized? Does it mean that the contents of each booklet is on the computer?
Yeah, so the cover of each publication or item is online. And I'll get into that in just a second. Go back to your other question. The funeral booklets were separated, and they are with our funeral booklet collection. So here I'm at the library. Over there, you can see the, you can't really see it, but over in that corner is where the horizontal files are that contain the funeral booklets. And we did take out the funeral booklets. They were actually scanned about 10 years ago. The covers of all the funeral booklets were scanned about 10 years ago, and they are on the website separately. And anything that's scanned, any of the funeral booklets that are scanned on the website came originally from St. Thomas Graphics collection. Now that doesn't mean they're the only ones that were printed by St. Thomas Graphics. It just means that they're the ones that came to us from the closing of the business with the rest of the St. Thomas Graphics materials. Certainly, there are many, many other funeral booklets in our funeral booklet collection which came from St. Thomas Graphics, but they didn't come to us that way. But so the funeral booklets are separated. They are separately inventoried, cataloged, and they are in alphabetical order because Deanne Wessing here helps us. She volunteers with that project, and our secretary, Jennifer Carr, they lead that project with the funeral booklets. But you're right with the other materials, the organizations, whether it be Historical, Chamber of Commerce, India Association, those are going to be interspersed, in different locations on the shelf. They might be here, 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 here. So that's why we set up a finding aid. So let me go and show that part to you, unless there's any other questions at this time. I'm going to share a screen again.
So, yeah, one more question.
Sure, Amy, go ahead.
So, in other words, you don't need to go to the library, to CGL, to get hold of the booklet. You can do it online.
That's absolutely right. And that was one of the goals of the project. The first goal was to digitize the documents, get them physically out of the boxes and onto the shelf where patrons could come in and use the materials. But the second step was to create the website, which I'm going to show you now, and get as much of the material available for researchers to do anywhere around the world. So here's our main web page. And there's two ways to get to the St. Thomas Graphics collection. You can scroll through here until you find it. But I also want to show you the online resources page because I want to remind everybody about our U.S. National Archives scanning project that we did 3 or 4 years ago now. It's a while ago. It was because of this project, which involved digitizing up to 5 gigabytes of data at the U.S. National Archives, that I knew CGL could accomplish another scanning project. So it's worth going in here, if you haven't been here before, to see how we developed a system to digitize and display the U.S. Virgin Islands documents at the U.S. National Archives, either in Washington, D.C. or in College Park, Maryland. At some point, I think we're going to migrate that set of digitized files to the same place where we have St. Thomas Graphics. So here is St. Thomas Graphics collection site. Let's go there. And this is the main page for the St. Thomas Graphics collection. And I just want to point out a couple things here. If you saw Susan's presentation about the Pitzels, the biography of the Pitzels, of Richard and Judith, written by their son Stephen, is here. And it's definitely worth a read. If you want to understand the collection, you should go read that. It'll help you understand a little bit more about the context of the printing in the era of the late 20th century. So here, under the digitized collection, is where you can find the digitized materials. Let's see here. 1 second. Change the way I share here. Okay. Let's see if I can do this. The controls on Zoom are getting in the way of my navigation here, so let's see if I can do this. Okay. So here we go. When you click on the digitized collection, you'll get to this page, and you will see each of the sets of scanned items in each box. So there's a physical box, and then there is a digitized box. And if you just want to search through the collection, just kind of browse. And this is like browsing the shelf of books. You can just look through here and find one that you find interesting. Carnival from 1999. We saw this with our last presentation. This is the entire booklet. The entire booklet was scanned in this case, which is not true for most of the collection. You can go page by page through it. These are very high quality scans, so it will take a little while to load depending on where you're connecting to the internet. As speeds increase, obviously it'll be a lot easier to download. And if you want to zoom in on a single page, you can just click on that and click on it again. Look around through it. You can see these are pretty high quality images. Go to the next page. So these are pretty simple navigating controls here, left and right. Take another example. This is from box PM 14-04. I'm going to go see if I can find that box. Let's see. PM 14-04. There it is. 14-04. Let's see if this is in there. I haven't tried this, but oh, look at that. There it is. We just got the front page there. If you really want to see the entire thing, and maybe you are interested in the 25th anniversary of ZBVI, there's more in here. You'd have to come into the library, or assuming if we have volunteer time, you can send in an email and maybe a volunteer can scan the entire book for you. I'll put that one back. So it says there's 14 pages here. There's really 13 because the last page is Cynthia's inventory of what's in the box. So the next thing we should find, oh, look, there's 2 of these. Next thing we should find is the Apaches Celebrate 30 Years. There it is. Apaches Celebrate 30 Years. Again, if you want to find something in that book, besides just the front cover, you have to come into the library or ask someone to scan it for you. Obviously, there's a wealth of material that isn't scanned, but this gives you a good idea of how to match up between what's online and what's physically in the box. So at home, anybody searching through the archive want me to pull something out from the shelf at this time? If you've gone to the page from the cgl.vi link, maybe you found something of interest? Okay. Let me show you.
Question. Can I ask a question?
Yes, Jillian.
Hi. I just pulled up the site. I'm wondering on, I guess, like the landing page where you have all of the covers displayed.
Yeah.
Is there a way to see easily how many pages are scanned without having to click on the cover?
Let me show you a different way that we can organize the collection besides the thumbnail pictures.
Okay.
Right? I don't know. I've looked for that before. Let me see if this does it. I think it might. Okay. I'm going to share the screen one more time. So notice we have these different ways to sort: view, title, archived, creator. We also have these different ways to view. So I actually prefer to show it as a list. We're showing it as the thumbnails right now, or the pictures. So let me show it as a list. Yeah, it doesn't, I guess. But I like this way because then I can sort by title. And when I do that, it's in order, just like it is on the shelf. So it's a little bit more organized this way. If you know that you're looking for a box, if you know that you're looking for PM14-04, if it's not sorted, it's gonna be really hard to go through those thumbnails and find it. To answer your question, I guess there is no way to know how many items are in a box online. Why would you want to do that, though? I guess is the next question. Why would you be interested in whether there's 10 or 50? Curious.
Well, this is the first time I've seen this at all. So for me, like, I'm just looking at the covers right now, right? So the first cover that comes up for me is, it looks like it's today with like some children singing a song. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me, right? Like, so I would have to click into it to see, what else is, I guess, in that box. Now that I click into it, I see there's 31 images. But I guess my question is just, or the reason I would want to do it would just to be able to help decide what I was going to click into faster. Like, if there's only one image, then maybe I don't need to click.
So you're leading into one of the next topics.
Okay, great. I'll go back on mute.
Yeah, because then you have to, I thank you for asking a question. I appreciate it. It's a good question, because that's where we started. It's difficult to use it. It's difficult to kind of peruse the shelf. That's why we have library catalogs, and we need that for this resource. So we developed one. So let's take a look. But I did want to, before moving on, just did want to stress that sometimes it's a lot easier to search using the different sort functions and the different thumbnail versus list views. So just be aware of that. And again, archive.org is the site we're using. It's a free site. The same people that do the Wayback Machine support archive.org. And we get to upload these archive documents there. And they provide that as a free service to CGL and many organizations. So just be aware, they're the ones providing the service. So those NARA, National Archives images that I showed you before, that was all hosted and designed and developed by CGL. It's kind of clunky, but it was the best we had. So we're going to slowly migrate over to getting those archived images into archive.org in the future as a project. So yeah, again, what do we do with this? Well, we can't. So let's go, we can, but if you're looking for something in particular, what's a good way to get there? And that's what this inventories and finding aids link is for. So let's click on that. And before I get into the inventory, I just want to point out that if you want to see the funeral booklets, this is a direct link to the funeral booklets that were scanned from the collection, and it takes you to our funeral booklet page. So I'll go there real quick. And if you haven't been to our funeral booklet page before, here it is. You can find the list of funeral booklets there. And these are all the ones that were scanned from the St. Thomas Graphics collection previously. Let's say born. There we go. And it just covers, but it just gives you an idea. We have it. It's in our collection. It came with St. Thomas Graphics. That's why it's there. So the funeral booklets are one part of the collection. The printed materials, and that's PM. These are mostly materials that were printed for organizations, nonprofits, government, not government, recognition booklets. That's what was considered printed materials when Cynthia did her inventory. That's one category. And what you see behind me here is all the printed materials. They all say PM at the front. The next set is the government printings. And those are like government reports, the political campaign ads, senatorial celebrations, things like that. Those are also up on the shelf, but they're over here and they're separated. They all start with a G. Here's G101. If you can see my screen, G101. So Cynthia made a different inventory for those. So we labeled them and organized them separate. And then the final category, well, second to last category, it's commercial publications. These were more like industry publications. So what we see there, and this isn't hard and fast, but generally it's for companies that had promotional materials. So a lot of promotional materials for tourism, a lot of charter boat publications, restaurants, hotels, tourism, things like that. And then the final category are the flat files. Now we don't have the flat files available yet for public consumption. They're not digitized, but if you want to see what's in there and if you're interested and want to talk to a librarian about that, you can go in and look at that. But each of these have an inventory. And when you click on the inventory, hopefully this is more of what you're interested in seeing. Now here, you actually get to see the name of the customer, in the case of St. Thomas Graphics, that wanted the printing done. So this first box, box 1-01, is almost all St. Thomas Chamber of Commerce. I could pull that box, that's what we'd see inside. A little bit easier to search here than the thumbnails at archive.org. And if you click on any of these, you'll actually be linked right back to that front page. So this is probably gonna be a lot more valuable to you, right? Let me try box 14-4 again. And 4-4. Feel free to follow along. Here we are, that ZBVI program booklet in PM 14-4. If I click on that, it should take me directly to that page that we saw before. And there it is. How's that? A little more helpful? I'm not hearing any feedback.
Hi, Rob. This is Ruby Sanderson. How you doing?
Hey, Ruby.
Yeah, good presentation. Earlier, I think you said that when Cynthia was organizing, she did something with customers, people who requested work to be done. So can the collection be searched that way? Like when I was in politics and campaigning, they did, you know, a lot of stuff. So if I were to search using my name, would I be able to find what they have on me? Okay.
You want to go try that? Let's try it.
Sure. Oh, no, you mean for me to try it?
Good idea.
No, you,
no, I'll come do it right now. Let's do it.
I'm on my iPad, so it's a little difficult for me to.
I'm going to do it right now. I'll do it for you. Let's do it. We're going to go into government printings.
But it would be on,
I know your stuff is
on
there.
Simmons. It would be Ruby Simmons. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go into that inventory.
Okay.
And so this looks just like the PMs, right? Except this time we've got G for the government. Right?
Okay.
And I could just look through all the names, but if you type Control F,
okay,
it brings up the search tool, right? So let's try. You try your last name. Didn't see that.
No.
Let's try Ruby.
Rob, check on the Simmons. Naughty Sanderson.
Yes.
SIMMOND. Right.
Yep. We're not finding it there.
It's not there.
But I know we have some of your stuff. So let's see. Maybe
I
it's
know. I think I
printed.
saw one of my posters when Susan did her presentation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The posters actually are probably over in the flat files.
Right. Yeah.
Which is why they're not in here.
But they did some me as well.
Yep. I thought I saw some of your stuff in here, but this is a good point because notice that these online inventories aren't nearly as detailed as the ones that Cynthia did. And that's just because there's really not enough space to show the entire column or row of what Cynthia put in. You know, we're not putting in the size of the booklet. We're not putting in the number of them that we have in the collection. This is just a more condensed description. So it's possible that she didn't put your name in. I mean, I know I've seen your name in some of those materials that we have, but let me go check PMs as well. So maybe, it's not hard and fast that the government publications or that government materials will be in the government publications section. So as researchers, we know we got to try things a different way. I'll go back into the materials. And again, Control F.
Okay.
I think in most browsers, Control F will bring up the search and we'll search the page. We're also going to see if we can get a searchable PDF and the searchable Excel file onto the website as well. So it won't just be this web-based searching, it'll also be one that you can download and search yourself. Some people have difficulty downloading and searching Excel files and PDFs. So let's try. Oh, no Simmons.
That's okay.
Well, you've stumped me because I know we have some of your stuff, but maybe I'm just thinking of the flat files.
Maybe.
Let me try something else. Let's go into Cynthia's larger index and see if it shows up there. And again, Cynthia wasn't perfect with the way that she copied down the information from the covers into the description. So sometimes it's like, oh, it's perfect. And other times like, well, it should have had this other title instead of the one that was written.
Right. And some of my stuff was campaign brochures and so forth. So it might be categorized differently, so
yeah.
I'll take my time and look.
Okay. I don't see it in our inventory for printed materials in Cynthia's inventory.
Okay.
I'm gonna go search this government one. I'll show you what the Excel files look like for government as well. Yeah, she didn't have as much information on the government ones. She spent most of the time on those printed materials. So there's really not much more here. Maybe I'm just thinking because I've seen your name in these legislature swearing in ceremony booklets.
Probably.
And so, that's another point I want to bring up is that on archive.org, if you go down a little bit, below each image, you'll see some information about the item that's scanned in. And this says that this is from the St. Thomas Graphics collection. It's in the government section and it's in box number 3. And we have plans, hope that we can add more tags to each of these images so that if we found one that say had your name, Ruby Simmons, and we could put your name in there and then it would be searchable right there at archive.org rather than having to go to the inventories. That's another volunteer project if someone wants to help with that. But that's a big one. It's just better to improve.
Thanks for trying anyway.
I'll look it up later and let you know.
Okay.
So, what's next here? Yeah, so if you're going to be doing research, that inventories page is going to be important for you. And let me tell you, we're still working on it because, again, there's certain places where the automatic shortening of the information that from Cynthia's data might be improved. So, and there's also cases where it's inconsistent. So like everything from the India Association, maybe it doesn't all have the same title to it, even though we know they're all India Association or Pistarchal Theater, all the Pistarchal theaters, but some of them might be named just slightly different. And so there's a little bit of work that can be done to standardize some of the references in these. And some cases where I think the dates are not being formatted quite right. In cases where the date might have only included a month in a year instead of a month, day in a year, it might have come out awkward. And so some of that review still needs to be done here. And there's also some more materials that are continuing to be scanned. There's small pieces of the collection which were being scanned even last week, and we'll continue to add. So the archive isn't done, so to speak. The materials are always being added online and into the collection as well. There's one box right here. It's missing a number because it was just scanned, and it still needs to be added online, and it needs to be given a shelf number here on the shelf. Any questions so far? I would like to do a couple more searches just so you all can see how to use it a little bit better. If anybody has some ideas of what they'd like to search. We'll maybe be a little bit more successful this time. If you have an organization name that you'd like to look for, anything that you want for me to take and pull out to set aside for full scanning, we can do that now. Well, we can set it aside for scanning. We won't do the scanning till later.
Bob, do you have any material there? Can you search to see if you have material from the early governors, Evans or King?
Sure. I know we have some Cyril King material. Sure. Let me go back and share the screen again. So here we are back at the government inventory page, which again is from here, the inventories. And we'll do Control F to bring up the search. Type in King. Cycle through the results. State of the Territory message by Cyril E. King is in box 601. Inauguration of Cyril E. King in Juan Louis, 1975 is the next one. Martin Luther King. So there's those two options. Did you have a preference, Sophia? We can pull one out and take a look at it. Well, they're both in box 601, so I'll go take a look at that. It's up here with the government documents. And also, we can just click on it. Let's do the inauguration one. So again, it goes right to the online box 6-01, and it goes to item 26 of 37, which is the inauguration, the cover of that.
Seemed like the collection included a lot of the state of the territory addresses from all of the governors. So that would be an interesting project to do a political study using those.
You know, and the thing about the collection was it's not complete by any means. You know, there's holes in it. You wouldn't get every single one in every year.
Mm-hmm.
You might get, you know, there's really no rhyme or reason for why they kept some of the publications and not others.
I think I
at least I can't figure out a reason for that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking through the box to try to find this one. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Within the box, they're not really, it's not going to be like the 26th one in the box. You know, I think they might have been that way originally, but it's because it's just a box, can't really keep them in order inside the box. It's not like they're on the shelf and they're not cataloged. I'm going to stop the share here for a second. So you can see there it is. But yeah, this is an important one. So yeah, if you're interested in seeing more about that. And this says on the back, printed in the Virgin Islands by St. Thomas Graphics. At the bottom. As someone researching the Governor King would definitely find this of interest. So let me see if I can find that other one. Again, if there's other research topics you'd like to look at, let me know. We can try them out online. If you have any recommendations for how we can make this easier to search, let me know. We're still developing it. Here is the state of the territory. Now notice this one. They have cut out the picture of Cyril E. King from the front. They probably used it in some other place. Here it is. Let's see here. I'm looking for it in the box. There it is. 12th Legislature of the Virgin Islands. Say the territory. Printed in the U.S. Virgin Islands on the back. They were notorious for taking pictures and using them for layouts and other materials. So it's possible that they didn't print this. There are many materials in the collection that they didn't print, but that they used them for printings that they made. So especially in the commercial publications, although some of them they definitely printed, but I'd say that portion of the collection is has more printed materials that they didn't print, but that they might have cut things out of for other publications. So if there's a picture of the island or a picture of an underwater scene that was done professionally off island, they might have cut that out and put it into another booklet for one of their own printings. The state of the territory reads a lot like a government report, it seems like. So, and we can't really go through and scan each page because it's so much work unless there's a volunteer out there willing to do that. But you find it online and you can come in and take a look at it. Let me go take an example of some of the commercial publications so you can see that. There's only eight boxes. Each box has multiple sub boxes here. You can see here especially, Cynthia didn't inventory these. These were actually inventoried or named, I should say, by our scanner, Annika. And so the detailed information doesn't exist for these because Cynthia hadn't inventoried them. So very basic information here. Quail Bay Festival, I want to see that one. What is that? It looks interesting. Box CP02-01. Let me go look at that. It's right here underneath the government publications. Oh yeah, so there's 65 documents in this box. A lot of little pamphlets. It's going to take a little search to get through and find this Quail Bay cultural door for Carnival 2004 publication. Maybe I won't spend the time doing that today, but it's going to be in here. Maybe more interesting would be to say, okay, I did find the St. Thomas Guide in there. I wonder if I could find it in the inventory. Should be able to find it. Do the search with the Control F again. Let's just look for guide. There's probably going to be lots of guides here. Yeah, 11. Let's see, we're in box CP02-1. There it is. One of the things, like I said, that's in these commercial publications are the brochures for the charter yachts from back in the day when each yacht was kind of chartered individually. And so this brochure is for the boat named La Creole. So if you're interested in old charter yachts and you know the name of the boat, you can easily search for it to see if it's in our collection that way. So if you know who the captains were, Captain of the Year, Oliver Delaney. If someone's doing research on him and his family, and they knew that he was on La Creole, you can find him by searching through the commercial publications. And before we move on, let me go down to the flat files. Got so many tabs open here. Let's close up a couple. Funeral booklets, printed materials, government printings, commercial publications, and then finally the flat files. Which again, these aren't really accessible yet, but we've made them available in the format that Cynthia inventoried them in. And so if there's something you're interested in, you can ask a volunteer librarian and we might be able to pull it out for you. No guarantees, but it gives you an idea of what's in there. And again, there's a lot of information there. The flat files are typically oversized. They wouldn't fit in boxes. They also often contain the layouts for the actual printings, and in some cases, the actual tin that was used to print that was attached to the rollers and that the ink was applied to actually print the materials. So again, a wealth of materials available to search through. It takes some time to really get a full understanding of all the materials in the collection, but we hope that the inventories are useful for that purpose. And finally, I think, the presentations page and the curated selections from the collection page. The online presentations page is where you'll find specific pages for the presentations. So a whole page dedicated to Susan Lugo's workshop on May 1st, a whole page dedicated to the June 19th workshop on 2021 by the Virgin Study Collective. And after today, we'll put a new page up here for this workshop on how to use the collection for research. And we're still gonna have maybe 2 more workshops coming up to finish out the grant, and more if there are researchers who want to present on any of the materials in the collection. I think we'd be happy to host more presentations. And the curated selections is still in development, but as a sample, what it will eventually have is an easily accessible list of items just from particular organizations. So all of the Chamber of Commerce publications will be linked in one document or one page. All of the legislature documents will be in one page. Ruby, I think I see you in that picture there.
Are you sure? No, that's after I was.
Not you?
No, that's not me. I was in the 14th and the 15th legislatures. That's another.
Okay.
I didn't serve with all of those folks, only some of them.
My screen's a little small, sorry.
That's okay.
We can look for 14th and 15th too.
Yeah.
Tourism documents and India Association pages. These are just samples as I get a chance to find groups of printed items that are large enough to warrant their own finding aid. I'll add them to this page. Make it a little bit easier if you have a specific subject area in mind.
Are there any booklets on celebrations of emancipation or fire burn in the collection?
Well, that's a good question. So we should search emancipation.
Yes.
Let's try that. Okay. And I would guess that that's going to be in the printed material. It might also be in government if it's a government recognition ceremony.
Oh.
So let me go try that. Go back here. And here. Start with printed material. Control F to search. Nothing showing up there. Nothing under fire burn.
Oh.
So again, you might want to just scroll through it and see if something might have it.
Okay. All right.
So
Okay.
let's go back
All right.
and try the government printings. Control F. Well, there's something for emancipation. Either of those look interesting?
I can't see.
Rob,
I'm
you're not
sorry.
screen sharing. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'll go through that stuff again. So government printings, and then Control F, emancipation, and it finds these two, emancipation in the Danish West Indies 120th anniversary, Emancipation Danish West Indies Frederick von Schulten's eyewitness account. I just tried this 125th anniversary. It says it's in box 7-01. Are you familiar with this publication?
Yes.
Should we go see what the other one shows?
125th, 125th.
Sorry. I'll bring it back for you. You've seen this one before?
Yes, in St. Croix.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other one, have you seen this one before? I'm asking because I could pull them out. We can take a look through them if you want.
Emancipation in the Danish West Indies.
It looks like it's just a reprinting of remarks.
Okay, funded. All right. Okay. All right. It says funded by. Oh, it's just the remarks. Okay. All right. Could you look up fire burn next, please?
Sure. Again, you can follow along at home. cgl.vi. Okay. Control F to search.
Control.
Yeah, hold down the control and hold down the F. And Control F is often search, like in Excel, Control F will search, and PDF, I think it does it as well. But nothing for Fireburn is showing up. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Rob?
Yes.
Hi, Kathy O'Gara here. Why don't look up some of the Reichhold program books. There must be hundreds
Yeah.
of them.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. Sure, let's go take a look at those. Those are in the printed material.
Uh-huh.
So let's see if I can, again, Control F. Reichhold's R-H-E-I? No.
R-E-I-C-H-H.
R-E-I. There we go.
Where?
All right. So it says there's 63.
Ah,
A salute to Henry Reichelt. Oh, that's interesting. Look at all these. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
I think this is an example of where, notice we have a set of them here in boxes, box 401 and 402.
Right.
But obviously there's going to be some more here. Yeah, in 402. So they got broken up by the Caribbean Coral publications. Yeah, lots. Extending into box 403. And then, yeah, more in 404. Broken up again by Caribbean Coral. Would you like to see one of them? I can go grab it from the shelf.
Yeah, let's look at Attack Perlman.
Okay, so that's in box 4-04.
Yeah.
I'll turn the screen over here so you can see me. It's going to be up here. These is boxes 1, 2, 3. It's probably right around here. Oh, no. 401. No, 404. Okay. And I'll click on it so we can see the cover.
Okay.
Exactly. There's Maya Angelou too.
Oh, there were all kinds of wonderful people who appeared at the center.
Yeah. Here it is.
Right.
Anything in particular you wanted to see?
No, I'm just a little trip down memory lane, remembering
Yeah.
it's working for
It's
me.
bio.
There you go. Wow.
He played Sonata in D major, Leclerc, and Brahms Sonata number 3. There was an intermission, and then he played Ravel.
Cool.
It was all back in the box and back to the shelf. Anybody else got any suggestions for a search? It's better than 50% successful.
Rob?
Yeah.
Could you I don't know, think, I don't have something to search for, but I was just trying to see if you could think of certain booklets that might be more relevant to family history research. I mean, in addition to the funeral booklets, which we know, is there any other material? I know a lot of it is commercial and government, and certainly government is related to the politicians, but are there any that might help someone who is doing not necessarily community research, but doing family history research?
Yeah. You know, I have seen some of those, but it's difficult to point to them. I would be hard pressed to actually find them again because I don't remember the names exactly, but I do remember, you know, for instance, the debutante ball booklets. If you know that you have a family member who was involved in debutante balls, you can go to some of those sorority organization names and try to find them, just like Tiffany did. You know, when she was in here preparing for her research, she knew she was in a particular sorority, and we found it, and there was a group of years, and I think 5 or 6 years, we had the publication in a row, and we just found the year that she knew she was in the ball. There's also, so that's an example. There's St. Helens St. John Chamber of Commerce. If your relative, the person you're looking for, was involved, you're going to have to just kind of go to the set of booklets that are St. Thomas St. John Chamber of Commerce and just search through them for a name, because unless there was a specific recognition of someone, their name's not going to be in the title. So, you know, if you're that person, it's usually someone of prestige, and, you know, not many of us have that person in our families. So I would say if it's more about understanding the organization that your family member might have been involved in. And I know that's hard to find. You know, if you don't know your family member that well, you may not know what they were involved in. But unfortunately, the people involved in the organizations didn't often appear on the cover, you know, unless they were someone of prestige. So
I think I noticed one, like Ruth Thomas, who was being commemorated. So you're saying that commemorative booklets, or if Chamber has honored that person, then you might find information and a biography about them and pictures from their employment, or for whatever reason they were being commemorated.
Right, if they were one of those people, right? But there's, what I'm saying is there's also a lot of information on people that's not on the cover, right? Whether it's pictures, or, you know, when there's like 20 people that are being recognized for something in a particular year, they're not all going to be on the cover. You know, at most you might see 3 people being recognized in 1 year, if it's a recognition booklet. But if it's like an annual booklet for a ball or something that an organization has, you know, there's going to be lots of information about people inside the booklet, and that's where the covers are not sufficient. You really just want to, you know, find out that, oh, CGL has those booklets. I want to go into the library and look through them. That's going to be the real value of what's online, if you're not seeing it.
Sorry, Rob, you have a couple of questions, and I can read them to you if you want to. Jacqueline Lawrence wanted to know if the collection includes any graduation booklets, so different public schools and private schools booklets from their graduations.
Yeah, I think I've seen some. Let me check over here. I'll share the screen again.
Then you have another question after that, but maybe you can search and show which schools we have.
Okay. So let me search. I'm almost certain I've seen Ivana Eudora Ken High School here. And because it's St. Thomas printing, it's probably just going to be the 2 high schools that you're going to find. So Control F, I think it's under, no, not finding that. There's some program booklets for Charlotte Amalie High School. Let's try this baccalaureate service. Might be along the right track. Class of 1993. So again, notice that I went into the PM inventory, the printed material inventory, and just did a search by that title name, but we might want to look a little bit before or after it for maybe some other school information for Charlotte Amalie High School.
Would searching just for school, just so you're not so specific?
Yeah, yeah. Here's a reunion booklet. Here's one that's not CAHS. Let's try school, like you said.
There's a Cancrine yearbook for 1874, and I'll just add, just for general information, we actually do have some yearbooks in the CGL collection, maybe not necessarily part of the St. Thomas Graphics collection, although you just saw one, but we do have some yearbooks. And there's also a few publications, again, not part of the St. Thomas Graphics, that either were donated to the library that we have in our book catalog. I remember seeing one, for example, from Peace Corps school from about 35 years ago. So if you're looking for material from schools, you can look in this collection, and you can also search or card catalog for those other materials that might be related to schools.
Yep. So here we found some from Sibley, from Ken High School, not Ivana Eudora Ken, Bertha Bisholte. So yeah, school seems to be working out pretty well as a search item. That answered one of the questions. I'm sorry, Sophia, what was the other question?
The other question is, how does CGL's collection complement or is different from the St. Thomas Public Library's photographic collection?
I'm not too familiar with that collection, but all I can say is that this is St. Thomas Graphics collection covers the period from late 70s, mid 70s up to the early 2000s. And they did a lot of printing. So not knowing the other collection, I'm sorry, it'd be hard for me to answer that question. But
I'm also not so familiar with, actually I'm not familiar at all with what the Turnbull Library or even the VI archives has related to St. Thomas photographic material. I know that the VI archives at least has quite a lot of old photos, because I remember during 2017 there was photographs being used in the newspaper that were cited as being part of the VI archives collection, and I think a few of them may have been from the public library. CGL itself doesn't have a very large photo collection. We have a small one, but we don't have a substantial amount of photographic material. This collection that Rob is talking about would be more of a small print collection, but it does contain some photographs as well, which is a project we'll be working on later. So as far as CGL having a large photo collection, we don't really have that. We do have on loan a stereo view collection, and it includes about 100 old photos of scenes from Charlotte Amalie, Frenchtown. There are some people in them if there were vendors at the market and things like that. Those are the only collections that we have that are related to photography.
Yeah. May I ask a question about family reunion? I saw one in there that was for the Freeman family, but I would think that in answer to Sophia's earlier question, that these annual reunion booklets could be very useful for genealogy research. To what extent do you have some? I just saw one. Is that an exception, or do you have a lot of them?
hey, Maria, I just did the search for the term reunion, and I found just those two for families, the Freeman family and the Connor family booklets.
Which family?
Connor.
Oh, Connor.
Yep, 5 results came up. Those were 2 of them. There also was a Virgin Islands Toastmasters reunion, the Charlotte Amalie High School class of 1966 reunion. And yeah, that was it. Just 4. One of them had the word reunion in it twice.
Right.
Yeah, I can't say I saw a lot of reunion booklets in the collection.
Yeah, it's only lately that it's becoming fashionable.
I would say they probably didn't leave any.
Yesterday.
Everybody took a copy, didn't leave any extras.
Yeah.
But I think the school is a good idea. Maybe that's something we want to put into our curated selection, our publications from schools. I'll add that to list.
Rob, this is Ruby. I have another question. Do you have anything from like athletic organizations, you know, like the East League and something? Sometimes they had, in addition to just playing ball, had functions honoring their members and things like that. So there might be information there that would be useful to families as well, if there are any of those kinds of.
Yeah. I did see some, but if I type in league or
softball or baseball,
tennis, there's a Alan E. Williams Softball League program booklet from 1975 and 1973. Would you like to see that?
Sure.
Okay. I will show you where it is. showed up here for box 15-03. And again, I just did the Control F and typed in league.
Uh-huh.
Box 1503. It's a lot of St. Martin this month in this box. Here it is. The 73 booklet.
Okay.
What's that? Oh, these guys.
Yeah, so that could be useful for people doing family research as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, so this does have, even though this is a 73 booklet, it's got the pictures from 72. It's got the name of the champions. Joseph Clenenden, the Commandos, 16 for 32 with a 500% batting average. Home run department, top home runs, top pitchers.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, so Alan E. Williams and 75 and 73. Let's see if anything else shows up. I'll keep searching league here. There's a couple more leagues. League of Women Voters. Maybe that's where I
Oh,
started.
I'm sure there's, yeah, they're there.
Lots of League of Women Voters. The St. Thomas St. John 16 to 21-year-old baseball league program booklet from 1987.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, it's not Google, but you know, you're gonna have to be a little creative in some
Take
of
some
your
time,
work.
sure.
But, yeah, it's research, right? But
It is, right?
anybody else? Okay. Well, I hope that met some of the goals. Again, they were to understand the collection and where it came from, and to understand how it's organized, how it came to be organized in the way that we've organized it, and finally, how to conduct research, how to navigate through the web pages to find or to search for something that might be of interest to you. And then once you've located something online, how to find that scanned cover, again, to see if it's maybe of more interest, and then how to find the physical document at CGL now that the collection is out of the boxes and available for researchers. So unless there's any other questions, it's
I have a
time
question.
to wrap up.
What about booklets
Yes.
other than the St. Thomas graphics and other than the funeral booklets?
Well, that's a whole different project. Yeah.
Other programs. Is there one place where they're located? Are they inventoried or?
Rob, you want me to answer that?
Sure.
So Amory, when Deanne, who's on with us today, thank you, Deanne, for all her work. She's a volunteer that helps to catalog when we receive new funeral booklets. And like I said earlier in a chat message, we have about 4,000 funeral booklets now, and she's responsible in great part for cataloging those and putting them in alphabetical order so another volunteer can put them in the file cabinets. But when she finds commemorative booklets, which we do get donated to us, she pulls them out. They're not put in the cabinet with the funeral booklets. So we have a growing collection of commemorative event booklets. And maybe she can unmute herself. I don't know that she actually puts them into that same index. I don't believe she does. So a project that we have been talking about doing at CGL is to now create an index of the commemorative booklets, because that collection has grown quite a bit in the last few years, and to use one of those recently acquired cabinets, file cabinets, to file them separately. So they would be available, more available than they currently are. Deanne, do you in fact index the commemorative booklets with the funeral booklets, or do you leave them out completely?
they're left out completely. There was in the very beginning, I did a separate Excel listing some of them, but that fell away years ago. So I just pulled them out, separate them in a separate bag, separate box when I bring them in, and put a label on them that they're not funeral books. So I don't know what happens to them or at that point. So I'm assuming you know that that collection is growing.
Yes, we do
are
have
a
those
lot,
separate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are some of them are useless in many ways, but some of them have extensive information. For example, a celebration book will have life stories of the person that's being talked about, or their 100th birthday, or celebration, and all the history that they went through. And so occasionally some of them are very informational and some of them are kind of useless. So but I do separate them out. They're not in the funeral book list at all.
Okay, thank you, Deanne. So when Deanne turns them over to CGL after she's finished indexing them, we do have a separate place that we keep the commemorative booklets. And like I said, the collection has been growing. So we do plan on now making an index for them so the community knows which ones we have, and doing the same thing we did with the funeral booklets, putting them in a file cabinet in alphabetical order by the event, or we'll have to determine a way to put them in order either by the person's name or by the event. But that's a new project that we'll be creating with those materials. So Amory, your question is, do we have some? We do, and they're not yet indexed.
Thank you.
I have a question. Now that St. Thomas Graphics Arts has closed, is anybody taking their position or taking their doing the printing for the community, or has digital home printing on computers taken over?
Well, there's several print shops on island, and there's one right here next to the library that we've used before. They printed our signs, our big sign up above the door. So yeah, there's still them out there. I think they do specialty printing more than anything. Obviously flyers and even sometimes booklets people can do at home, desktop publishing. I think it's the specialty, large size, and maybe special paper type printing and the bulk printing that goes to the shops these days.
If I can add to that, Rob, Betsy, I think the community here still has a practice of making print booklets. I mean, COVID interrupting live events,
Yes.
We haven't seen as many print booklets come in except for funeral booklets in the last year and a half. But I have a feeling that there'll be a return to it because community organizations often do a little bit of fundraising by having a booklet, so they sell advertisements. So I think having that print material is still going to continue, even though it's a digital age and people are making digitized materials. I do think that there'll continue to be booklets from commemorative events, graduations, and funeral booklets. We're seeing a little bit, just a little bit of people saying, I did a digital booklet. Can I turn in the digital booklet to CGL? But it's still mostly print material that we see coming in.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, this is Ruby. I have another question. As we're talking about people who did printing, Supreme Printing they filled in a gap there for a long time. But I think Mr. Joseph is no longer doing that work. I don't know what has become of his information, his records, or his inventory. It might be something for CGL to pursue because that would be another source of great information because he did printing for a long, long time. So.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that we have so much printed material from a print shop when you would expect that after the materials are printed, they would go to the customer. And it seems like they kept aside a lot of the publications. I don't know why, whether it was for samples of their work or, you know, if they were especially proud of this or that. But again, the collection is very inconsistent in what's in it. So I don't know if another business entity would have the same residual printed material, you know, available. Be curious to know what Supreme might have.
Right.
But we're lucky that St. Thomas Graphics had a lot of printed material available.
I think I saw a question about Supreme Printing is owned by Mr. Joseph. I forget his first name. I'd have to go look it up. He used to be in Back Street, and then his last place was in the plaza across from Pueblo in St. Thomas. That's where he last was. So I'm sure he might have been, because I think he kept at least one copy of each of the booklets he did for whatever purpose, you know, for records or whatever. So I'm not sure how to contact him, but it'd be worth pursuing. And if I can find out anything, I'll let you know. How about that?
Wonderful.
Yeah, I know that Mr. Joseph at one time was talking about giving us a copy of his archival materials.
Mm.
Oh, well.
But somehow, I don't know, it didn't work.
Things happened.
Yeah.
We're going to need a bigger library.
True.
Already
just need
bursting.
We're going to need an annex.
Yes. Anybody have anything else to add? Any comment?
Well,
Question?
not directly related, but I've been asked about the Maria Smith collection. How is that available on the computer?
It's only available on the computers at the genealogy library. It's not available online. The database is too large to be served online. So if you're interested in it, there is a inventory, so to speak, a searchable list of and alphabetized by name of the people who we have some sort of documentation on. And so you can go there and switch screens and show it to you again. You can go there to find a name. And if you find your name, then you just need to make the request to have to come in and find the material yourself on that computer, or ask a volunteer to do it when they get time. Let's go to home.
Rob, can you say real quick what the Maria Smith database is for people who might not know?
Sure. Maria Smith, she, in her own time, did a lot of transcription of death records and burial records, grave records from around mostly St. Thomas, though we have some St. John and St. Croix information. And she, took that information and actually put it into a database, which is searchable on a computer here. Associated with that, there's also pictures. So in the case that she took a picture of the gravestone or took a picture of the original document, you can match up the database information to her pictures. And so we have that online.
I've just posted a link to the Maria Smith database page on the CGL website for anybody who's interested, and it does include an index. So if you go through the index and you see a relative's name, it's very useful for genealogy research. If you see a family member's name, it usually gives a little bit of information, but to access the actual complete photograph and records that she entered, you have to come to CGL and look at it on the computer, but the index is online.
So it's downloading now. You saw there was an option for St. Thomas and St. John. They're two separate databases. The St. Thomas one is much larger. And the nice thing about this, because it does focus on individual names, by last name it's sorted. And you can, get a general idea of if it's the right person since often there's people with the same names, just by looking at the death information, the death date information over here. So there's a lot of people in this database. And again, once if you find someone of interest, you can go look up that person in the database at the computer here and find more information. There's too much information to put on this spreadsheet to find that. And if there is an image attached to it, again, it can be a picture of the source document, whether it's a church record or a picture from a cemetery burial record from DPW, or sometimes a picture of a gravestone. But that's only accessible from looking at the database that's at CGL.
So if you want to go through a collection after getting the basic information from the index, you have to put on a special memory or a disk or something.
There's one computer at CGL that has the database on it. And so you open up the database on that computer and type the search into that. It's a real database. So any item that's been typed into that will come out as the result.
Okay.
So it can be a last name, it can be a first name, it can be date of death, it can be anything. You can search by any of those criteria.
And also the passenger lists. Are they on this still only, or?
They're both on CDs and they are online now as well.
Oh,
so
they are online now.
yeah. They're not searchable online. I don't think I've seen them transcribed yet. I haven't heard of them being transcribed yet. They're very difficult. Last resort is what I say.
They're hard to decipher.
It's usually best if you're trying to find someone you know arrived in or departed from the Danish West Indies, and especially if you know when or a time range, because there's a lot of names, they're difficult to read, and not everybody was in there. And you're not going to get, even if you find the person, you may not get a lot of information, but it has happened. It's happened that you can find someone and family members they're with, or specific information about the time that they left or arrived based on not necessarily the passenger records, but there's also passport applications and there's visa applications. And I have found those two sets of that record to be more interesting, more valuable.
Thank you.
All right then. Well, again, I hope you got everything you wanted to out of this. I hope you have
Yes.
fun searching through the database,
Yes.
through the collection online, and we're happy on appointment to open up the library for any of you that want to come in and put your hands on the material to do your research. Thank you all for attending.
All right, thank
Have a
you.
good day.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a great presentation. Very useful.
Thank you, Ruby.
Yes.